Hello and welcome back. In today's video we're going to be talking about the equation of a circle. This is section 1.5 in your textbook. What I've done here is I've drawn a generic circle with a center of h and k, with a radius of r, and a point on the circle is x and y. So as you travel around, it's some x and y value. The distance h is the distance from 0 to 0 on the x-axis, and the distance k is the distance along the y-axis vertically. Now the equation of a circle is x minus the h value of your vertex squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared, and we can show that by the distance formula. We have the distance formula here that we've had before. All we do is plug in the values from the circle. X is going to be our x2, h is going to be our y2, x1. So in this parentheses we're going to have x minus h. We're going to replace those with these two values in the graph, and then in the second parentheses we're going to replace it with y minus k for the y values here. And all we do is square both sides. We just square this equation on both sides to get the equation of a circle. We square both sides, we get this equation, which is the equation of the circle. That's the one we had up above. Now we're going to use that in a couple of examples. So if you see an equation in standard form, this is in standard form for the equation. There is also general form we won't be covering in this class, but it's also in your book, general form. Standard form is more useful because it has you can see the vertex and you can see the distance of the radius in the formula. So standard form is very helpful in those two aspects. So if I'm looking at this first example again, I can see my vertex is found here. So the vertex is found here in this part of the formula, and it's going to be, in this case, the h value is going to be 4, so that's going to be, your vertex is going to be 4, comma, in this case, we don't have anything we're subtracting for y, so that's going to be 4, comma 0 for the vertex. So the vertex is going to be 4, comma 0. The radius is going to be the value found at the end, or what it's equal to, but that's going to be r squared. So this section right here is r squared. So that means we're going to have to take the square root of 16 to get the answer for r, which in this case is 4. All right, now if I were drawing the circle, I would find my vertex. So let's say I have a vertex at 4, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So here's where my vertex is. Now if I was graphing this by hand, I would then go out by the radius. It's easier to count on my form using this vertically and horizontally. So that's what I would do if I were doing it by hand. I would count out 4 this way. 1, 2, 3, 4. This would be a dot on the circle right here. And if I go backwards, 4, I would end up at the origin. That would be a dot on the circle. I'd go 4 up. 1, 2, 3, 4. I can count horizontally and vertically. That would be a dot on the circle. 1, 2, 3, 4. So this would be my attempt at drawing a circle using a mouse for the first time on this. So we would draw something that looks like a circle. In this case, not the best circle in the world. Okay, so that's my rough sketch of a circle. Now, in reality, you're going to be using a tool on your computer, so it's not going to be you're not going to end up with that sketch. You'll end up with a sketch that looks more like this. You'll be able to just use your tool, go to the center, drag it out to where it's either 4 horizontally or vertically, and then you have a circle there. So the black one is what it's going to look like in reality. And you'll have that same tool on in your homework. You can drag it out from the center, so you'll be able to graph nicely without drawing a circle like that. But by hand, that's how I would do it if you were drawing it by hand on a graph piece of paper. Okay, let's go to our second example. Our second example, we have the same type of problem. In this case, here's our vertex found in there. So in this one, the vertex, we don't have an h value, so in that part we're going to have a 0 for the vertex. And over here we have a plus. So plus is the opposite of the formula. The formula says y minus k squared. So since this says plus 2, our actual answer is going to be negative 2 for the y value. So our vertex is 0, negative 2. Okay, once we have that, that's our vertex. Then we take a look at this number to get our radius. In this case, the radius is the square root of 21, because r squared equals 21. So r is going to be the square root of 21. And in the book or on the assignment, you may be able to just write the square root of 21 as your solution. And when we have to graph it, though, we're going to need to know what the square root of 21 is. So I'm going to use my calculator over here and find the square root of 21 approximately. Push enter. So it's about 4.5, 4.6. So in graphing this, using my graphing tool, I would take and go to 0, negative 2 over 0. Let's see, I'm going to put a dot there. 0, negative 2, that's right about here. 0, negative 2. And I would take my circle grapher, and then I would go up about 4.6 values. So either I'm going to go with the right, 4.6. That's 2, 3, 4.6, about right here. It's a little more than half. That would be my graph of the circle with this information. Now, the third part of this video is about how to find an equation from just looking at the graph. Now, if you have graph paper and it labels the x and y, we should be able to find the center by just drawing some vertical and horizontal lines from the highest to lowest point. So if I look at the highest point on the circle and I draw a vertical line from the highest point down, that should be a diameter. And we could count that to see what the diameter is. We could also take another one going from the far left point on the circle, go to the far right point on the circle, and that would be a diameter. Where they intersect there would be the radius, or would be the center of the circle, and we could just count that and and write that down. So we'd have the center of the circle. In this case, the center is 1, 3. So the center is equal to 1, 3. And that's going to help us write the equation. So that's going to tell us, if we want to write the equation, we can write the first part of the equation, which is x minus h, and h here is 1, so it would be x minus 1 squared plus y minus k. In this case, k is 3, so y minus 3 squared equals r squared. Well, we still haven't found the radius, so we have to go back and find the radius so that we can then put it in the formula. So the radius, since we've drawn these two lines and we know here's our center right there, we can count from the center to the edge of the circle to figure out the radius. So here in this case we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 is our radius, so this would be 5 squared. Now in your assignment you're going to write that as 25. So you're going to write, to get the correct answer in the assignment, you're going to write x minus 1 squared plus y minus 3 squared, this is my mouse again, equals 25. So that would be my equation for that circle. Okay.